What's up, curious young people? After years and years of watching hundreds of documentaries, TV shows, and millions of images and videos on the internet, there are still things that always surprise us. Maybe it's because there are more than 7 billion of us, and with immediate access to the internet, we can literally come across anything at any time. Even if you think you've seen everything, there are always new things. That's why Mr. Curiosity is here. For this and much more, these are 20 things you'll see for the first time in your life. Sports cover many disciplines, among which are races. Even though not everyone likes them, we must admit that hearing roaring engines or watching a vehicle go over 200 kilometers per hour on the verge of crashing appeals to many people. And did you know that in the United States, the home of NASCAR racing, we can experience something like this if we're right next to the track at one of their races? Nature can be as amazing as it is intimidating, and when it shows all its power, it can scare more than a few people. In this case, if we travel to Colorado, we might come across this incredible tornado. Obviously, these phenomena are always synonymous with destruction, and that's why they terrify people. But with these close-up images, we can see the incredible force and lethality they can have if the necessary weather conditions are present. The way it moves with such speed and force, dragging and destroying everything in its path while these storm chasers were recording it, seems almost like science fiction. But how terrifying. When we visit a beach, if the necessary conditions are met and there is a lot of wind, we can practice a sport like kitesurfing. And in this video, we are watching a professional enjoying this sport on the coast of Egypt. It's very interesting not only how he takes advantage of the air currents to move, but also that he reaches an incredible height of about 150 meters, where any small mistake could mean death. Even though weapons and military equipment have no other purpose than to hurt people, we have to admit that it's very appealing. Not only the act of firing something, but also the design and operation of many military technologies. And in this case, even if you've seen a helicopter flying over your city, I'm sure you've never seen anything like this. What we're seeing are two Mi-24 attack helicopters from the Czech army firing a series of missiles at a hill during a training exercise. When it comes to buying shoes, we always look for a good brand that will at least last a couple of years. Now, if in addition to having spent a few $100s on a pair of shoes, you're also very fond of them, then maybe once they break, you'll want to fix them like we see in this video. In this case, this cobbler had the satisfying job of giving a new life to an expensive pair of Gucci shoes, and through a very careful handcrafted process, gave them a new life. When it comes to talking about art, we can literally talk about anything: painting, sculptures, engineering, and whatever else you can think of. But if we focus on painting, we have to get to know this artist. Among the dozens of different styles we can find, there's the abstract art style, which not only leaves us speechless with the final result, but also impresses many with the satisfying process through which it takes shape. In this case, we're looking at an artist named John Beckley, who, among the endless list of works he has created, surprises us this time with a Lego character on a background full of layers and mesmerizing materials. Well done, John. If you're someone who likes history, then you surely love everything related to the medieval era. The impressive armor, along with the weapons that were used back then, managed to catch the attention of more than one person. And luckily, nowadays, if you're a big fan, you can feel something similar to what medieval knights felt a few hundred years ago. Specifically, this is what one of the finals organized at the Montbazon Fortress in France looks like. An event where you can see that not only the knights are dressed up, but also everyone present, creating a great atmosphere. It would be hard to find people who don't like movies. Films, even the more unique and interesting ones, manage to leave us hypnotized in front of a screen. And even though there are movies without special effects, we can also find some like Fast and Furious, where there's no shortage of expensive cars and effects. In this case, we see behind the scenes of the latest saga movie, with cars flying, shops exploding, and people running, as everything is destroyed with impressive control and quality. If you like food, maybe you've seen several behind-the-scenes videos of some kitchens. But if there's something you've probably never seen, It's the kitchens of one of the best restaurants in the world. In this case, we find ourselves at Jean-Georges' prestigious restaurant, which manages to maintain 2 Michelin stars, and we can understand why. It's very satisfying to see not only how they cook everything, but also the exclusive products they use, like truffles, sea urchins, caviar, and the most sought-after fish on the market. In nature, we can find different species full of unique behaviors. But if we want to find something truly rare, we should go deep into the ocean. In this place, we can find cuttlefish, curious species that, as we can see in the video, have such an incredible ability to camouflage themselves by changing the color of their bodies, that they can even blend into artificial environments, like the one they put in this aquarium. How fascinating, Mother Nature. When we go to an amusement park or a fair, among the rides we can find are the bumper cars. But what would happen if we left the little toy cars behind and went into real life? Well, in this case, we're watching an event where, before compacting some cars, they prepare them and launch them into this kind of ring where everyone crashes into each other. And although it might seem pretty interesting at first glance, it can't be very fun for our bodies, which will hurt all over the next day. Unless you live in the countryside, you've probably never, or at least rarely, seen someone change the locks on a horse. Well, this job can be really tough for the person doing it, but pretty satisfying for someone watching it from behind a screen. After removing the dirt, our worker takes off the horseshoe and then starts a curious process of cleaning and filing the surface. All of this is so that our dear little horse has the best protection for its legs when walking and working in the field. Nowadays, we can find hundreds of means of transportation, among which is the helicopter. And obviously, even though today we can see incredibly advanced models, it wasn't always like this. In this case, we are seeing some of the events that were organized in the 1990s and 2000s to give rise to these interesting mechanisms for flying. As we can see in the video, not only were all kinds of prototypes tested, but it also looked quite dangerous at first glance. Not all countries have the same technology and military development. And if we think about those who lead this interesting world of weapons and war, we have to think about the United States. In this case, we are looking at an interesting Apache helicopter, which is being fine-tuned and loaded with literally everything you can think of. It's incredible, not just the size of the smallest projectiles they have, but also the technology that some of the missiles they launch have, which even include cameras and built-in sensors. Don't worry, in the United States. If you love fish and marine life, then you'll love having a small fish tank in your house. Did you know that with time and patience, you could make something like this in a few months? This tank relies on all natural components to create that biome, and it's very interesting not only to see how small snails, fish, and shrimp live, but also how they feed when the owner leaves a slice of carrot at the bottom of the tank. Diving is perhaps one of the best activities we can do to relax and be amazed by the marine world, but sometimes things don't go as expected. In this case, we're seeing a diver who was calmly visiting a reef in the Philippines when suddenly a triggerfish got upset with him and kept attacking him to drive him away from its home. Although this isn't a shark and isn't dangerous, our diver gained a great memory from his vacation in the Philippines. Although most of us practice the same sports, we have to know that there's an endless variety, especially when we venture into some of the more unusual countries. And in this case, we're watching a fun game of kabaddi, played in the regional tournament of Chennai in India. And although at first glance it's absolutely impossible to understand anything, apparently it's played with two teams where, to score a point, an attacker must enter the opposing team's field, touch one or more opponents, and return to their area without being captured, all within no more than 30 seconds. That's definitely strange, my friend. If there's something that sets today's cars apart from those of a few years ago, besides technology and design, it's the high level of safety they offer. And even if you've seen an accident before, I'm sure you haven't seen the countless tests that cars go through before hitting the market. In this case, a Volkswagen ID.4 goes through all kinds of tests to check all its safety systems, while the poor crash test dummies get shaken up inside. Every now and then, we see some construction work in our city, and we might be fascinated for a while until the deafening noise tires us out quickly. For example, a few years ago on the coast of Seattle in the United States, part of the Alaskan Way viaduct had to be demolished, and interestingly, the entire process was recorded. It's very interesting to see not only how they use different machines to break everything, but also how the work progresses and the highway disappears as the days go by. Every time a GoPro camera appears, we know that great things can happen. And if we're in nature, even more so. If we dive into the clear waters of the Bahamas, we might encounter some sharks that can make our trip an unforgettable memory. And in this case, our friends at GoPro came up with the idea of placing a camera inside a plastic shark head, allowing us to get these interesting shots that look like they're straight out of a horror movie.